All right, Tyson, it looks like we're live. Looks like we're good to go here. So Dakota, what's going on, man? Ray Wallace, what's up, man? What's up? Massive week, bro. Enormous game. 1-1 Jets, 1-1 Patriots. The Buffalo Bills are 2-0. Miami 1-1 with two and now hurt.
Yep.
So it's looking like, all of a sudden, like, maybe before the season started, it's you're looking at this game like, early of course it's important, but early season, how much could this game really matter? But I mean, we're, 1 or 2 days out from game day, and it's like the winner of this game could be in worst case scenario, second place in the division. And that's a really good place that you want to be at the end of September. So, what's kind of been your initial takeaway? Well, I guess we could kind of do a lot, man. We could recap the Titans game. We could, preview
we could do both. I mean, dude, it's Patriots week. First of all, like they scratched and clawed and got the win. Home opener, Patriots week. If you want to win the AFC East, you got to go 4-2 in the division, and including those 4 wins is beating the Patriots twice, and that starts on Thursday. Like, this is the game you win. Like, this is home opener. You're the better team. That's it. Win it, move on, and let's start rolling here, because you had your slow start. 49ers wasn't good. Titans, we'll talk about that a little bit, but now you got to start opening up your offense, getting a little better. Everybody has injuries. Everybody has short weeks. Find a way to get this one done. Then you got a little mini bye, and then you start moving forward and start racking up more wins. But this game's huge, dude. Like to me, like a loss here's a setback. It really is, because then you're like, what are we doing? Like, are we making any progress? Are we, I think this is enormous.
Yeah, dude, I mean, it's huge, especially with how good, the Patriots have looked so far.
Yeah.
I know they're 1-1, but still, man, I mean, you want to talk about an upset win against Cincinnati and then pushing the Seahawks into overtime and losing by a field goal. Like, the Patriots they're not just gonna just lay down. You know what I mean? Like,
no, they're a good team.
I don't know,
dude.
man.
And
like, this is I feel good about the game. I feel confident about it, but this is like, I could literally see this game coming down to an Aaron Rodgers drive with a minute and a half left, or we punch it in with 45 seconds, and then the defense has to make a stand against Brissett and Ramondre Stevenson in this Patriots offense. But
the thing I worry about, and we'll touch on this, is what I kind of worried about in the Titans game, where the Jets kind of showed up and they thought just by showing up they're going to win the game, and they're not there yet. Yep. They're not there yet at all. And there was a point, I saw the one comment in the chat in the second quarter. I was with him, man. The second quarter, I was getting pissed, where I'm like, the team is flat, they're playing lifeless. And, Will Levis gave him the game by fumbling and throwing an interception, because they're on the verge of going down 10-0, if not more. And you're like, what is this Jets team? Like, where are we going? We have no direction. We have no leadership. So they found the way to bounce back, but you can't feel good about yourself. Like, they celebrated a win. It's an ugly win. You celebrate it, but you need to win Thursday, man. You can't just be like, it's only the Patriots. It's not only the Patriots, because they're playing solid football. They want you to beat yourself. Jacoby Brissett's a game manager, run the ball, solid defense. If you make mistakes, they're going to beat you. But the Jets have got to be better, man. They've got to. They had their excuse that we didn't play in the preseason. Aaron Rodgers didn't play last year. It's a new offense with Hackett. Okay, those excuses are starting to phase out now. Like, all right, it's been 3 games. Now, it's 2 games going your 3rd game. We got to start dusting out those excuses and playing much better quality football on both sides and wiping out these stupid penalties. Bro, the penalties, and that's what they did last year. So a lot of expectations, but they have to come out firing on all cylinders, dude. They have to.
Yeah, Steven, I mean, you make a great point. It's exactly what Tyson's talking about. Like, you have to come out firing. Like, you have to come out, and because in both games, well, really the 49ers game, we looked, just discombobulated and confused all game. But, in both games, the game plan going into it was just not all that. It didn't really give me a lot of confidence, right? It wasn't really until the second quarter where the Jets, or not second quarter, sorry, second half, where the Jets really, put their stamp on the game. And we're going to talk about it. So, yeah, I guess before we dive into New England, let's kind of recap that week 2 game. Yeah. For me, at least, again, the slow start, I was pissed up until the point where Levis was like getting, I mean, you just alluded to it, right? I think it was 3rd and goal. Could have went up 10-0, and then he tries this heroic hero lob to the sidelines, and the Jets just fall on it, and it's like, what are you doing? You got Callahan freaking out on the sidelines. Yeah. Jets unfortunately don't do anything with it. They go 3 and out. Rodgers takes a big hit in the drive, and then Levis throws another INT right into double coverage.
Yeah.
On the very next play of the Titans, offensive of the Titans offense. So, you're looking at some of these gifts and you're watching the game kind of go on and you're thinking like, okay, it's obviously back and forth. To me, it was like a roller coaster. Like the Jets had momentum, then the Titans did, then back to the Jets, then back to the Titans. Um, we had the block punt from Irv Charles, which really I felt like that was the moment where if we didn't have that play, it might have gone to the Titans in the end. But that play was just huge.
Yeah. But just going, just like to me, Eccles' interception was enormous. It was actually, DJ Reed's out. I bet he's probably gonna be out Thursday night as well, and so will Mosley. But that interception was enormous because the Jets were reeling, dude. The defense, you get a fortunate turnover, the fumble, which was ridiculous. Then you go 3 and out. I think they went 3 and out. They give the ball right back. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like the offense had no creativity whatsoever. Then you get the interception, and then they start rolling, and you're like, all right. But just to touch on the offense for a little bit here. The play calling was driving me absolutely insane. Run, third and long pass. Then when they had success with Brees and Breland in the backfield, it was great, and they went away from it. No Conklin. Like, they tried to get the ball to Garrett Wilson. Mike Williams had the one catch on 2nd and 15. But you're thinking, like, just as a fan, that's all I am, why aren't we being a little more creative here? Because there was a time where Callahan was out-coaching Saleh and Ulbrich, dude, because their play calling was 10 times more imaginative than ours was. It was just that Will Levis wasn't completing his passes. And then slowly they had the one nice drive. They opened up a little bit, but it just seems like it's so conservative. It's like they're holding back. I know Rodgers missed a couple of reads, but they've got to open it up, man. They have to. You can't keep playing this kind of football because when you play the better teams, you're gonna get your doors blown off. You're not gonna be able to sustain, a half a football having 16 yards in the second quarter. That's never gonna work.
Yeah, dude. I think it really needs to be driven home, right? The Jets have got to get other players the ball. It can't, and I understand, right? Feed Garrett Wilson, feed Brees Hall, 2 best players on offense, but Conklin's been invisible. Xavier Gibson's been invisible. Malachi Corley, Mike Williams is 1 catch. Like these guys, and by the way, I'm not, no disrespect to them. It's just the play calls, and you could just kind of tell that there's that obvious, not necessarily pressure, but point in game preparation. Okay, we got to get Garrett Wilson the football. Like he's our best receiver. I would probably say by far. We have to feed him. But at times, I don't want us to become too one-dimensional to the other team.
Yeah.
Or to the defense. But
the problem I have is these are the scripted plays. Like the first, how many plays in a game are scripted? 15 or 20 plays? The scripted plays are garbage. Like these are the ones you practice. Like these are the ones you come out firing like, all right, I know what I'm going to do. And it's just like they're horrendous. And you're like, all right, that's a great point by Jerry. He's 1,000% right. Like you take the ugly win, but the Titans in many ways gave us the game. Many ways. And they took advantage of it, thankfully. But the other thing is with this offense, I saw the other question they asked about, like, are they not going downfield because of Rodgers or is it downfield because of the play calling? And that's a really good question because it seems like it's not Rodgers doesn't even look downfield most of the time. Took a couple of shots where you have Gibson, you have some guys that can make plays downfield. They're not even trying to take advantage of it. And the concern that I have is defenses are going to start jumping routes. They're going to start realizing, you know what? They're not going more than 15 yards deep. They're not going to do that. They're going to start closing in their zones a little bit and making things a lot tighter for Rodgers and company. So to me, the play calling is an enormous question mark with Hackett. And we don't curse on this show, but dude, the delay of games,
bro, you can just be yourself.
We're not like that. But it's just how, like, when you have Aaron Rodgers, you have 2 delayed games, and you waste 2 timeouts with delayed games. That to me, he never blamed anybody. He took blame for himself. That has to be the play call getting in late or something, right? Like, how else can you explain it? That happened 4 times in one game, almost happened 5 times.
I think it's a combination of rust from Rodgers, right? Just not really having been out there all that much. We could talk about last year's preseason only having the 1 drive and then just the 4 plays. We could talk about this year, no preseason, second game, and then back-to-back road games. So I think it's just maybe a little rust from his part, along with Hackett. And by the way, I actually mentioned this in the recap video. You remember when Sean Payton took the job in Denver, like some of the comments that he, was talking about, and he said they couldn't even get a playoff.
Yep.
Russell Wilson and Hackett, they couldn't even get a playoff. Like, what are they doing? That. And that's kind of what I was thinking throughout the game. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Like, rookie quarterback, right? Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, whatever. You can't get a playoff. and things happen. I'm not going to freak out over one delay of one delay of game penalty. But the problem is that it kind of happened multiple times throughout the game, and it didn't really feel as though the Jets were prepared. Saleh kind of talked about it like they were prepared, like, oh, that's Rodgers. But if it was really like, if that was the plan, you're not wasting timeouts. Because I'll say this, man, like my fear internally watching the end of that game was, okay, if the Titans get into the end zone and score, we're going to have whatever it was, like 30, 33 seconds to go down the field. It would have been awesome to have those 3 timeouts, or at least 2. We only had the 1. So I didn't want to run out of time. And then all of a sudden we're in this overtime situation in Tennessee with them kind of having all this momentum with the late touchdown and then the stop. Thankfully, Will McDonald came in clutch right at the end. But yeah, dude, I mean, I'll say this. The Jets looked better in week 2 than week 1.
Yes.
The offense I felt like looked better. It seemed a little bit more. It just kind of seemed like a step in the right direction as far as just knocking off the rust, like a little bit more seamless. I thought the pass protection was really good, although Rodgers was taking some hits. And I think just as fans, we can't assume that Rodgers is 29 years old in Green Bay. Where he can scamper around, and then just find somebody like way down the field, or pick up a first down on like a 3rd and 9 with his legs, like stuff that he used to do. He's just not that guy, and it's fine. We knew that going into the year, but to actually see it, because we haven't seen Rodgers for so long, I think is not necessarily eye opening, but maybe it's just that good reminder of, hey, you know what? Like this offense can't just be Aaron Rodgers playing hero ball, and he's gonna just drag this Hackett-led offense to the promised land. Like, other players have to step up. We can't have drops and penalties and
I mean, that's like we're like, it's easy to say it's like rust. I know Adam was saying the same thing. Like, you get rid of some of the rust. Everybody told us you do that in the joint practices, where the joint practices avoid this from happening. But now it's like, you know what? These are like glorified preseason games, the first 2 or 3 games. But you got to clean it up, man. But there are some positives, man. And the offensive line is much improved, and it's only going to get better as communication gets better. So the pass protection is good. Rodgers' mobility, I'm guessing, will probably improve as the season plays out. But then you look at Braylon Allen, man, where it's like the hype around him coming in was like, this kid's going to be good. And we're like, what is this? Because he had the bad drop early on. You're like, oh, and then he bounces back, 2 touchdowns, looks explosive, looks physical. And you can spell Breece. It's a good 1-2 punch now, where don't go away from it. Like, you want to give Breece his carries, but you don't have to say, you know what? Breece doesn't need 30. Give him 20 and give Braylon 10 or whatever it is. But this kid's it's a dynamic combination that you find different ways to use. And then you mix in Corley and all this. You can have a really creative, versatile offense here.
Yeah, dude. I mean, really, Braylon Allen was impressive. And it's, again, it was one of those things where after week 1, a lot of fans were like, where was all these guys? Where was Conklin? Where was Corley? And Braylon Allen was one of those players. For some reason, only got in the game like in garbage time. But then in week 2, like, you saw that adjustment, right? Braylon Allen featured more in the earlier parts of the game, and he made an impact, man. Like, he very well could have been the difference between a win or a loss. Like, he made some really, really impressive plays. Especially for a 20-year-old, like he looks good, man. Like, and again, we had those expectations. He did have hype coming into the season, but to have this 1-2 punch, and knowing that Breece doesn't have to do everything, right? Hackett doesn't have to hand him the ball 30 plus times a week for us to win football games. That's really, really encouraging. And then, if you want to flip it over to the defensive side of the football, Will McDonald had 3 sacks. Like, that was huge. I felt like there were a lot of defensive struggles, whether it was Sauce Gardner, Chuck Clark, still couldn't really effectively stop the run. But Will McDonald, I mean, he literally won the game for the Jets in the end with that sack on Levis. Like, if we didn't have McDonald in that situation, or if that was maybe Clemens or McGregor or somebody else, and we don't get that sack and the Titans punch it in, who knows what we're talking about right now. So big shout out to McDonald.
Well, Will McDonald is exactly what they needed at this point, because now they're in trouble. Let's be honest. The defensive line has been struggling all across the line. Now, it could be because there's so many new parts. You have Kinlaw, you have McGregor, Jalen Holmes, all these guys getting extensive time. Solomon Thomas taking on a bigger role. But now it's like they're getting pushed around. Like they got pushed around by the 49ers. They got pushed around by the Titans. And, thankfully you start getting a pass rush in there, which is great. But then you lose Jermaine Johnson. And it was heartbreaking because you love the player. He's a rising star. He's a dominant player. He's your best pass rusher. And now you lose him. So my question for you is the loss of Johnson, the trickle-down effect is now Will McDonald is the focus of the offense. Like, you know what? We've got to account for him at all times. Will McDonald's got to keep your eye on. Who's the next man up that's going to generate that pressure? Is it Quinnen? Quinnen's getting double teamed. Tack McKinley's been a disappointment in my eyes. The offsides, penalties, everything else. Not what we thought we'd see out of him. Now you're kind of stuck a little bit where if I'm Saleh as an uneducated fan over here, I'm like, you know what? I may have to blitz a little bit now. I may have to change my scheme, which he doesn't like to do. He's kind of arrogant about his scheme. Like, this is my scheme. This is the way I do business. Well, you're losing pass rushers now. You have one that's out and hiding somewhere and one that's now hurt. So do you change it up? Like, how do you generate a pass rush if Will McDonald's going to be like he may get limited now?
Well, I mean, dude, that's the thing, right? So it's like, okay, if the Jets want to blitz more, we have to identify who's going to be that blitzer. Who's going to be the extra man?
Tony Adams.
I was going to say maybe Tony Adams, Chuck Clark. You can kind of get creative with those guys.
Chuck Clark.
Quincy Williams, I think could be like a force, especially sending him late. Because we've actually seen him have success against other quarterbacks in his times where he has rushed the passer, or has to be able to track down mobile quarterbacks that, first thought that comes into pops in my mind is Denver last year, against Russell Wilson, just, completely wins the game for the Jets in the end. So, if that's what the Jets need to do, that's what they need to do.
Would you do that though? Or like, how would you handle it? Or do you have like a different expectation that somebody else can step up?
Personally, I would blitz more. I love blitzing the quarterback. I think that, and I understand what the Jets want to do defensively, right? Get after the QB with your forward down lineman, which means you can drop more guys back in coverage. You can play with everybody in front of you. You don't get beat over the top, and you just kind of rely on those guys. But what happens if you don't have the talent there? Now the quarterback can sit back there and he's not getting rushed at all. And eventually somebody's going to get open. You can't just cover all day, especially with all the, rules tailored towards offensive football, with pass interferences and holdings and whatnot. Like, we watch the Chiefs every week, Mahomes just dancing around. He always finds somebody down the field. And if he doesn't, there's a flag some way, somehow. So for me, I would consider blitzing more. The one thing I will say though, kind of a, little, I guess, sneak peek for the Patriots preview, the Pats pass protection has not been good. It's literally one of the worst in football. So, do the Jets maybe get a pass this week with just rushing their four guys and still, making an impact? We don't necessarily have to blitz this week. I think it's a fair question. Ultimately, I do think the Reddick deal gets done. I just don't know how, from a Jets standpoint, you can not rush the passer in week one, not really do it all that effectively outside of Will McDonald week two. Your best pass rusher goes down. At some point, something's got to give. I've seen some talk, let's go maybe trade for somebody. Let's go sign a Unique Ngakoue or somebody like that. But to me, it's so weird. Let's just find a solution with the player that we traded a nice pick for.
Yeah, and now it's like if he's looking for leverage, he has some. Like he finally has some leverage. We're like, you know what? You need more than I need you. Like that's kind of where he's at. Like, you know what? Pay my fines, pay this, pay that, and I'll come back. Where it's unfortunate, but I would blitz more. The run defense remains concerning for me. But the one interesting thing, and this is not a knock on CJ Mosley, because I love CJ Mosley, dude. He's a great leader, great player, has a toe injury. I wouldn't play him tomorrow night. When Sherwood came into the game and they had like Chaz Surratt in there, the first like I'd say game and a half, their sideline to sideline speed on defense seemed a little bit slow. He seemed a little bit, they lacked that punch. When Sherwood came in and you saw more Surratt, they were flying around, dude. A lot more intensity. Quincy took on a bigger role. Quincy became that leader knowing that CJ was out. Quincy kind of like emerged even more. Like he kind of picked up the slack a little bit. And it was good to see, man. And it's just that little depth and that kind of spark is what they needed because they were getting pushed around a little bit.
Yeah, and even in that week one game, and also too, I've kind of heard or seen some of the beat reporters talking about maybe Mosley in coverage just being a little bit slower, Sherwood looking a little bit more explosive. Mosley's 32, man. He's still a great player.
Yep.
Um, but I agree, man. Like I think the youth there. I mean, Quincy's gonna do his thing. He's like an energizer bunny.
Yep.
But Surratt, Jamie, and Sherwood, both of those guys stepped up. I mean,
Yeah.
we needed them to step up, and they did. So I think you know, offensively and defensively, we were able to settle down a little bit in the second half, against Tennessee. But to me, it's just limiting the amount of mistakes, whether it be the clock management, the penalties,
Yeah.
failing to stop the run, and I guess kind of that would be a good place to start as far as prepping for the Pats week.
Well, just
Or,
one more thing, though. Just one more thing. To
yeah,
me, Chuck Clark's been a disappointment, and I know it's early. He didn't play last year. He's coming back from a major injury. He's probably getting acclimated to the defense, but it's just like the angles he's taken, the missed tackles, the penalties. You're like, man, like he seems like a step slow. Where and in the back of my mind, I can't remember all the conversations that we had about all the safeties that were out there in free agency, Pro Bowl caliber safeties, all this. Everybody's like, you know what? The Jets don't care about safeties. They're worried about they have 3 great corners. They don't need them. And you're watching the way he plays. I'm hoping that he improves dramatically over the next 4 or 5 games. We're like, all right, he had to get his football legs under him. Now he's playing at a much higher level. But to me, from what I'm watching, it's kind of disappointing right now what he's bringing to the table.
yeah, dude. I mean, we could even point to last night, bro. I don't know if you caught the Eagles Falcons game.
Yep.
But who won the game for the Falcons in the end? It was Jesse Bates, right? One of the best safeties in football,
Yep.
flocking over the football, flocking over to the pass and picking it off in the end. I think if we had a Justin Simmons, if we had a Quandre Diggs, they would have picked off that Calvin Ridley touchdown. Sauce Gardner, for some reason, just isn't even turning around. He's just like, just kind of just standing there, going up against Ridley on the sidelines.
Yep.
Levis chucks it deep. Clark has the awareness. He starts moving over there, but just can't get to the football. He's like a step late. If that was Diggs, if that was Simmons, if that was, one of these former Pro Bowl guys, that's probably a pick. 7 points off the board for Tennessee. So it's small little details like that. So I'm with you though. Chuck Clark it's hard to judge him because he is coming off a season where he didn't play, and also too, if we think back to the time of the injury, he didn't even practice in training camp either.
Nope.
So he's missed a lot of time actually. And it's not like he's in year 2 or year 3. Like he's been around the NFL for a little bit, albeit all with Baltimore. But I think I'm hoping at least, or I have my fingers crossed. I can't confirm it, but you would like to think that Clark's play continues to get a little bit better as the weeks go on and he gets more accustomed to it. But Lucas, bro, I appreciate that. Yeah, so I saw Robbie Anderson got released from the Dolphins a couple hours ago.
Yeah, he's just bouncing all around now. But I think the one thing, it's like the Jets are fortunate that they can win an ugly game. Like in years past, they lose this game. And Aaron Rodgers had some incredible throws. The touchdown to Brees was ridiculous. The throw to Mike Williams was incredible. So it's like you saw what you have in Aaron Rodgers. Like fourth quarter is money time. He made money throws and he kept the team calm and he rallied them. The defense almost gave it up, but they found a way. It's all right. You turn the page, like you enjoy it. Quick turnaround, Patriot week, and to me, it's an interesting matchup because they play solid football, right? They do. They play really good football, complementary football, and it starts with the running game. They want to run the football. And they've done it successfully, and where the Jets are at, they struggle to stop the run. So I guess the game starts there, right? If you're looking at a preview of this game, that's where you're like the defensive line defense is got to stop them and make Jacoby Brissett one-dimensional and then worry about Hunter Henry.
Yeah, dude. I mean, we were just talking about Chuck Clark. My kind of idea going into the game is dropping him down into the box, stuffing as many, guys into the box as possible to limit Stevenson and limit Gibson. I think too, on the road. I mean, through the first 2 weeks, the Patriots have really done a great job at not only just run blocking, but having a lot of success there with both Stevenson and Gibson. And also both guys can hurt defenses in the passing game. So I would not be surprised if there's those slip screens and stuff from New England's, side of it, trying to catch the Jets maybe a little off guard, or if the Jets do blitz maybe a little bit more, you can kind of catch them in a position where they're over pursuing. And now, the pass catcher's already like a step ahead of the majority of the defense because he's just, even if it's, a small little screen pass. I saw one comment not too long ago here. I have to scroll and find. Oh, here we go. Great question, Andrew. I think for me, man, how the Patriots would slow down Garrett Wilson, they would either just bring over the safety to whichever side and kind of have that roaming safety back there. And they have two really good ones in Jabril Peppers and Kyle Duggar. I think that's one of the strengths of the team.
Yeah, I think so too.
Um, or they're just going to let Christian Gonzalez follow Garrett Wilson. And Gonzalez did a good job against Garrett last year. So we'll kind of see how it plays out. But I would not be surprised if Mayo forces Rodgers to go to Lazard and Mike Williams more.
Which is fine.
We haven't really seen that, which, from a Jets fan, yeah, I'm fine with that.
Get Mike Williams more targets. Like, I mean, that's it. Like, that's why you signed him. Like, Mike Williams is a very good receiver. And that's where it's like when teams know that Aaron Rodgers is going to force the ball 10, 12 times to Garrett Wilson and they start keying on it, then you have a guy that's a very good receiver in Mike Williams. Or you go to, like, I'll keep saying, you go to Conklin. Like, you got to find ways to open up different, and then once you get Mike Williams active in the game plan early on, they have to back off Garrett Wilson because they got to respect it. You got to find, like, other players that get respected from the defense where it's like, all right, we can't double here. We can't roll coverage over here because we're going to get burned on the other side. So let him, dude, Mike Williams has got to be, he had 30 something snaps last game, I think.
Yeah, but only the one catch. It just didn't really feel like, I don't know. It just didn't really feel like the Jets were looking his way or calling plays for him,
Well, I mean, that's,
and I think a part of that too is like, we just whether it's, Hackett or Rodgers, whatever, like we could argue about that, who's more in charge of the play. They just don't really throw the ball deep.
Yeah.
Unless they have to.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's where Mike really is at his best.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you see it, like, Rodgers is smart to realize, like, you know what, I got to go somewhere else with the ball, and like have trust in Mike Williams that he'll catch it. And he's a legit dude. It's not like you're worried about Lazard dropping it or Corley being inexperienced. That's where I would go to him, man. I'm excited to see that because you have to open it up, especially downfield. Like even like when you get within inside the red zone, like the fade pass to the corner of the end zone, all these different things. Like you got to stretch the field a little bit more to keep people off balance.
Yeah, dude. So if you flip it and look at, kind of my outlook on the game on Thursday night, right? From a defensive perspective, again, force Brissett to beat Sauce Gardner, to beat DJ Reed, Michael Carter, if they're healthy. If not, Stiggers, Eccles, these guys. And by the way, Eccles, I know we didn't mention before with Braylon and McDonald. He had a great game.
He definitely did. No, and he stepped up. Like the Jets, when we did like our whole preseason thing, we liked the corner depth. We felt really good about it. Where if somebody did get banged up, next man would step up. So you feel really good about that. What is your analysis of Sauce so far? The one catch that Calvin Ridley had was a complete fluke. I mean, that was just like a miracle. I thought it was just good coverage. That the long pass. He got beat early on, where it seemed like he got picked a little bit. But, fans it seems like, Jet fans love him. Opposing fans hate him because he's an all-pro guy and he talks a little bit. But what's your evaluation of Sauce after the first 2 weeks?
It is what it hasn't been the best, in my opinion. The one thing that gets me is the tackling or lack thereof. That's the part. Because, look, corners are going to get beat. Jalen Ramsey, these guys get beat. It's an offensive league. It's a pat. Yeah, everybody's throwing the ball down the field. You could have the best corner lined up against the best receiver. Like the receiver's going to bring in at least a catch or two. Yep. Corners, in other words, the Revis season isn't every year. Like that's the reason why everybody references that one season is because it was so dominant. So there's going to be games where Sauce gets burned or whatever. He's still a young player, still learning and growing, but from like when I think of Gardner, I literally think of like one of the best corners in football, if not the best.
Yeah, 100%.
So, in that mindset, whenever there is a negative play, whenever he does allow a touchdown, a big play, whatever, could be short, intermediate, deep, there's always that like level of disappointment, like, oh man, like this is the best guy, so his expectations are really high. But with that said, I haven't really felt like he's lived up to what he showed last year, but it's 2 games against teams that, like Kyle Shanahan, great offensive mind. Callahan got the job in Tennessee, offensive mind. I think both teams have a lot of weapons. So, I mean, we'll see. I think if Sauce gets burned again this week with like Jacoby Brissett and like throwing rookies, then my level of concern will start to creep up. But through the first 2 weeks, it hasn't been great. But it is what it is. It's 2 games, and it's not like he's just getting completely shredded and blown off the field.
Now, do you think they make any changes on the defensive line? Could Leonard Taylor get some opportunities now? He's been inactive the first 2 weeks. They've been pretty loyal to Jalen Holmes and McGregor. Do they change it up? Maybe Watts gets in the game. Like, how do you think they change up their rotation now with Jermaine Johnson out?
It's gonna be tough, man. God, I just read it. I wish Reddick was here, but since he's not, and since like it doesn't really seem like there's a light at the end of the tunnel in that regard, like the Jets have got to do something. You can't just say, "All right, that's it. We just lost our best pass rusher." Like, no, that's not an excuse. You know what I mean? Like, there has to be either a player that steps up, or an effort in game preparation to figure out how to rush the passer more effectively than what we've shown. Because even with Jermaine Johnson, it wasn't like we were constantly getting home. You know what I mean? So
Give
is
Taylor
that
a shot. What the hell? Why not?
yeah, he's a pass rushing inside guy, and Lecky Fotu's hurt. So you kind of have that. I mean, I know they keep they're rolling Jalen Holmes out there. They're giving him a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
On the D line. But yeah, I mean, I would throw Watts out there, see what he can do. And I think this is the week, right? Short week against a division rival, against a team that doesn't really have the best offensive line. This is the week that you can maybe experiment in the first half and just kind of see, hey, how does Eric Watts look if we give him a full drive as the starter? Maybe 10 minutes left in the second quarter. Like, let's just roll him out there and see what he can do. Yeah, obviously he made the team for a reason. You know what I mean?
No, I 1000% agree. 1000. Like, you have the young legs. The guys they've been sitting for 2 weeks now. They're gonna be raring to go. 3 games in 10 days, 11 days, what it is. The defensive line's all beat up. Worth a shot. Absolutely worth a shot.
Yeah, dude. So Lucas, bro, I appreciate the super chat, man. Thank you. On a serious note, what have you seen from this O-line standout from any unit since the Rex Ryan days? I've been so impressed with Tip. So I think for me, the pass protection has been the most impressive. Like, just what the tackles have been able to do. And again, Rodgers has taken some hits, but I think those hits have came just from him holding on to the ball too long.
Yeah.
Not because the O-line is getting just ripped apart. And I also think it's worth noting that the Jets played 2 really, really good defensive lines. The Niners have freaking top level talent, and then the Titans have, top 3 D tackle and Jeffrey Simmons. They got one of the best pass rushers in Harold Landry. I'm really, really impressed with what the tackles have shown, especially in pass protection.
Yeah, and you think about the entire preseason, we're all worried about the snaps. Tippmann and his snaps. Oh my God, he's going to fumble the ball all over the place. Tippmann cleaned up his game. He's becoming a beast, man. I saw a couple of people saying in the chat, he's becoming really physical. And you got to keep in mind, so there's 3 new moving parts here. You have 3 new players. You have AVT coming off an injury, so they're all getting acclimated at the same time, trying to figure each other out and playing quality football, which means they're only going to get better. They're going to get more physical. They're going to get nastier. The run blocking should improve as they learn the scheme a little better. So Tippmann's exciting, man. That's exactly what you want. You hope to have that anchor for the next 5-10 years on this team. And he's developing like that. And AVT staying healthy. He's getting like that physicality back too, which is great. It's all good signs there.
Yeah, dude. So flipping back over to the defensive line, trying to create pass rush. Billy brought up a good point. Jadeveon Clowney might be available. Obviously, veteran, 2-year deal. Somebody that the Jets had interest in, and Carolina has looked horrible so far. I don't necessarily know if Carolina is going to completely blow it up and start moving off their veterans.
Yeah, but here's the question I have for you, though. If you sign him, you inherit his contract, right? Then if the minute Reddick reports, his money goes on the cap too. So you don't have the cap space. You're like, you'd have to what, trade Reddick away? Like, you're not gonna be able to afford both of them because his money goes on the books that's still like that, whatever, $14.5 million for the year.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation. I think it's just such a weird spot for Joe Douglas, man. Like, I just can't. I just don't know of any other team that would acquire a player, and we've beaten this, subject to death, so I don't want to harp too much on it. But to trade for a guy who does, is not showing up, he's going to hold out in Philly, he's going to hold out with the Jets.
Yeah,
wants his new deal. He doesn't get his new deal, he's not showing up. To acquire somebody like that, while giving up a solid asset in return, for him to just show up and for us to not give him a new deal. And then if we believe if the reports are true, but the Jets offering him a pay raise and Reddick declining it, and the Jets saying, "Screw it, we're going to trade for you anyway." That makes it look even more weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do think like from an optic perspective, like national sports media members and stuff are like if that's the case, right? The Jets trade another asset for Clowney or they sign,
Yeah.
a free agent that's out there. I think a lot of people are just gonna like start dunking on the Jets. Like, what are they doing? Why did they get Reddick? You know what I mean? So it just kind of feels again optically like a weird situation, but bottom line is the team and winning games is the most important thing. So Joe Douglas, in my opinion, should put his I don't want to say reputation, but kind of his image aside for the betterment of the team. And if he feels as though Clowney would help this football team and he can pull off a trade and everything will work financially, then that's if that's what's in the best interest of the team, then that's what I want Joe Douglas doing.
No, 100%. I mean, that was, I'm all for it. I would 100% do any of this, but me, it's just the salary cap ramifications and still having this Reddick thing in the back of your mind where once it reports, the money starts kicking in, then you're screwed because it's a big contract still. Big in terms of, just what he's owed. So, I mean, it's an interesting situation, but, we always talked about like Devontae Adams at the trade deadline. To me, it's like, I'm thinking about defensive players at the trade deadline at this point where it's like maybe a pass rusher we need at that point. You know what I mean? Like if Mike Williams starts picking it up a little bit where the offense is rolling, the splash could be on defense instead of offense.
It's interesting, man. It's interesting because it's not like the Jets are sitting here right now, $40 million in cap space. We can trade for whoever we want. I think right now before McGovern, we were around $6 million.
Yep.
So McGovern's probably going to sign a veteran minimum deal, practice squad player. So less than $6 million. I mean, I guess theoretically you can always maybe give a little bit more, like offer a better draft pick or throw a player in there for the team to eat like half the salary of the remainder of the season. So it's not like you're paying, say for example, the payout structure, you're going to go get an edge rusher for 10 mil.
Yeah.
He's $10 million cap hit for the season. Half the year's over. Yep. If the payout distribution is even and he's owed $5 million, and then you can get that team to cover half. So now you're taking him in for 2.5. Yep. That could work. But again, it's this whole Reddick thing. One question I wanted to ask you about after this super chat here from Ryan, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Just want to say props to JD for building the offensive line. I've been really impressed with Simpson. Yeah, me too, dude. Hopefully Tyron can stay healthy.
Me too. I want to stay healthy too, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, dude, I was watching a little bit of your stream and you were talking about what were you talking about? Like creamsicle beers or something, or like
there's a brewery 15 minutes from my house that has creamsicle beers and these cherry icicle beers and all kinds of stuff, man. It's like you can't have one. It's dangerous. But that's like, that was my preparation for the Jet game. I had to get mentally ready for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, we need you healthy, man. We need you healthy. But Ryan, bro, I appreciate it. Great point, dude. Great point. I think a lot. I mean, I guess I could only really speak for myself. You don't really see a GM struggle in an area over and over and over and over, year after year after year, and then in 1 year swing for the fences and it hits. But that's exactly what's happened, right? We've had offensive line problems before Joe Douglas took over, when he took over in 2019, up until literally this year. And granted, it's only 2 games in, but based off of what we've seen so far, I've been pretty damn impressed.
Especially with pass protection. You want to see the run blocking get a little bit better, but I think that's going to come with time. But Simpson's been nasty too. Like Simpson, like Tippmann, AVT coming back into form. And like the comment from Ryan said is just keep Tyron healthy, man. Like just keep him healthy. That's the goal because he's been playing very good football. And it's only going to get better. Like they're going to get, the thing is just like, they're going to face better defenses and better pass rushers, more dynamic offenses or more dynamic defenses. But it's a really positive start. That Joe Douglas, he pulled a rabbit out of a hat with Morgan Moses too. So,
hey, so Jordan, I appreciate you, bro, man. Thank you so much. He has a little offer for you, man.
So you what's up, Jordan? Convinced me to buy a ticket to the game and Tailgate Joe's. I'll buy you in prime time a beer or a shot. Let's do it. I'm down, man. TailgateJoe.com. I'm down, man. I'm looking forward to it. I love the home opener. I love the night game. Hopefully the game's sold out. I don't think it was as of like yesterday, but it should be an awesome time. I'm looking forward to meeting you, man. I'm down 100% do it.
Dude, that's sick, man. So you're for sure going?
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, we got there's a whole group of us going, man. We have like a group ticket plan, and our section is gonna be chaos, complete chaos.
Yeah. Oh man, I wish I was going, man. That'd be so much fun. So freaking fun. But what I was gonna ask you about before was so like with all these like Reddit reports and all these, different things kind of coming out every week. Um, in my opinion, there's really four outcomes, right? He either skips the year,
Mhm.
he either shows up now, like shows up tonight,
Mhm.
tomorrow, and just that's it, and everything is fine. He skips like another month and shows up like halfway through the year,
Yep.
which to me is probably like the worst option.
Right.
Because you're just in a constant state of not knowing, is he good enough to play?
Right.
How rusty is he going to be? Now you have to pay him money because he's there. Whereas if he skips the year, at least you just know, okay, he's not showing up.
Right.
Um, and then option number four, potential trade. And I know Douglas said he's not trading him, but if Reddick is drawing a line in the sand and saying, I'm not showing up unless you give me a new deal, and the Jets say, we're not giving you a new deal, why keep him?
Well, let's go through your options. I think the first option of him not showing up at all for the entire year is not going to happen because he'll be in the same spot next year. The Jets have his contract. They're not going to, if they're not paying him this year, they're not paying him next year for not playing for a year. So I think that one's out. Him just showing up and saying, you know what, I'll play now, after the 3 games in 10 days or 11 days is over. I'm not really sure. Like, I think Josina Anderson said something about that too today. I'm not really sure about that. I
What,
think if
what,
this,
what did she say?
I think
I
she
didn't
said
see it.
something. She said something about like one of the reasons why he didn't want to report was the 3 games in whatever 11 days. That's a good way to get injured, and he'd report after that, which is whatever. Like you either want to play or you don't. I think the problem you're going to have now is that he has like what $8 million in fines. So now he's going to be like, if you guys really want me, pay my fines. Like find some way to get that $8 million incorporated in, and then my $15 million, $18 million. So to me,
But
good?
let me just cut in real quick. And sorry, I think my camera's kind of blurry on my end, but
You're good.
why would Reddick do that if like all of this talk,
I don't
all
know.
these reports for $1 million, like
It
as
makes no
you
sense to
said,
me.
like 15, 18,
It-
I think it's gonna be like 22, 23, like minimum. Like I don't think he's showing up to become like the 17th highest paid rusher.
like, dude, this at this point, I'm just baffled by this. It doesn't make any sense to me. He should have held in. We talked about this a million times, but now it's at a point where my concern is what player are you getting when he gets here? Is he going to be hungry, motivated, wants to be a part of the team, wants to win games? Is he collecting a check and going to get hurt in 2 weeks and be out? And we're stuck with a contract and the player's not even here anyway? That's my legitimate fear is we pay him, say you pay him $20 million. He's here for a week and gets hurt. And now you pay $20 million. Your cap is shot and the guy's not even playing anyway. So we have the same thing we have now with the worse cap space. You can make a decent argument, and I probably will, that you may want to consider trading him, dude. And then you explore other options. Like, you want to go out and get Clowney, go out and get Clowney. You want to give the guys, Calais Campbell, wherever you want to get, whatever guys out there. You may want to explore that because you got to think of the team. Because now you have guys in the locker room that are scratching, clawing, fighting their asses off. And you're like, wait, this guy hasn't been here. He's never been a Jet in his life. And you're going to pay him more than he wanted to come save us when we're sitting here like, DJ Reed probably wants a new contract, right? Conklin, all these guys, like, wait, you got there's a message you're saying to the locker room too to kind of move like that. So I don't know. Good.
But let me just interject and say, why trade for him in the first place then? Why not just sign Clowney or re-sign Huff or keep JFM or whatever? Because it kind of felt like they traded Franklin Myers to re-sign Reddick.
100%. It was a cap move. It's literally a cap move. That's why they did it. But that's why none of it lines up now. But now it's like you can't live in the past. So we're not living in the past. The move is done. How do we deal with it? And you're getting to a point now, like, all right, you're missing 3 games. Like what value does he like? I worry about him coming here and getting hurt. Like the impact you're gonna have is not gonna be anytime soon, probably like 2-3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now. Like, all right, great. Maybe for the stretch run, if he's motivated, in shape, and wants it. And it's such an odd situation, man. It really is. And sometimes it's like it can be addition by subtraction. Like he goes, the contract problem is gone. You bring somebody else in, and we move on. Maybe you try something like that.
It's kind of what the Bills did with Stephon Diggs. It's just like
100%.
such a headache. There's so much drama. There's report after report. Is Diggs happy? Is he not? He's owed all this money. Just move on. and you're seeing both sides kind of flourish. James, what's up, dude? Hope you're doing well, bro. Um, so yeah, so this unfortunately he cannot do, because if he were to retire and then come back, the Jets would still have his rights. So, like, for example, when Corey Davis did that, he came back, the Jets actually had to go out and like actively cut him.
Yep.
So, for him to become a free agent. K dude, I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Reddick 0 sacks, Huff 0 sacks. See, I think so. I've seen like a lot of people kind of complain about Huff and 0 sacks. I mean, I have a couple of points, right? Number one, Huff is not a top 5 pass rusher.
Nope.
So what are we really expecting from Bryce Huff? 5 sacks in 2 weeks, 4. I mean, if you get 1 sack a game, you're gonna have 17 by the end of the season. Like, that's a freaking dominant year. By the way, so I got a window right here, and this just caught my attention. I think the moon is like bright orange right now.
Is it really?
Sorry, it just kind of distracted me. Looks crazy, man. I don't know if anybody in the chat can look at the moon right now, but it looks nuts. But yeah, so that's point number one. And also, Huff is in a brand new defense with a brand new team, first time playing on another team. And supposedly Vic Fangio is not easy to get along with.
Nope.
He like holds vendettas against players. I mean, you saw all those Dolphins players like speak up when he was let go, or when Fangio and the Dolphins went their separate ways. All these Dolphins fans were like cheering, essentially, like, thank God he's gone, despite him being like a good defensive mind. So, yeah, Huff he's not looked good, but hey, it's only 2 games. Reddick, on the other hand, he hasn't looked good because he hasn't played. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, well, there's 2 things. Like, Reddick is a Pro Bowl caliber pass rusher that has legitimate stats to back it up. Huff, he like you said, new team, new system, but it could also be the fit. Maybe he's just a good fit with the Jets defense. Maybe like when you plug and play system where you have Quinn in the middle and Jermaine Johnson, maybe he's the right guy at the right guy in the right place to have an impact for the Jets. And that's why you kind of wanted to keep him. Like, what I hate is when fans love somebody and you want to get him back, and when he goes somewhere else and they struggle with, I told you he sucked. He didn't suck, man. He's a good player. He's not getting paid like Bosa. He's getting paid, what, $17 million a year? It's reasonable for a pass rusher. Pass rushers get paid a lot more than that. That's why Reddick is holding out right now. But they want to trade him back. I'd take him back a heartbeat. I'd have no problem taking him back at all. Under the current contract, no problem at all.
Yeah, because I felt like Huff signed for less than what he was going to get.
Yep, me too.
I remember when that deal came out, I'm like, oh man, the Bryce Huff just became the 19th highest paid pass rusher in football, Ryan, dude, thank you so much again for it, man. By the way, bro, I don't know if that's you in the profile pic, but do you play at Baylor? That'd be sick. Also, I love how Eccles and Sure would have stepped up. Yeah, man, we were just talking about that. If Mosley or one of our corners were to miss time, I have full confidence in those 2 guys. Me too, man. Cornerback depth, linebacker depth, I think are A+ for the Jets.
I think you'll see that Thursday night. I don't think Reed or Mosley are going to play. I'd be shocked if they played. I'd be shocked. And it's like, we talked about it earlier, but that's like, and you saw like improved like speed at linebacker, which is really cool. And this is a big year for Sherwood, man. He's getting to where he's going to get a contract,
Yeah. K dude, I totally feel you, man. Cause that I've seen lots of Eagles fans just ripping them apart on social media. But I mean, Bryce Huff was never Garrett, Watt,
a situational pass rusher. That's what he's been. But he was good at it, though. Like, you need that disruptive force. And that's something that's going to be, a sticking point for the Jets going forward. Like, when you're playing the Broncos and the Patriots, not to say they suck, but they're not great, you can get away with it. When you start playing the Buffalo Bills, you want to pass rush on Josh Allen. If you don't get it, you're going to have problems. And that's where, like, when you win, like, winning's a great deodorant. You look past all these things. You won the game. Nobody cares. When you lose, you accentuate everything because you're worried about, like, why did this happen? Why did that happen? And the pass rush is a concern because now with just Will McDonald, he needs a tag team partner. He needs somebody else to help him. And you got to find out who it is. And I mean, the Reddick thing is just.
I'll say this, man. K-Dude, if Huff continues to struggle and the Eagles want to move on from him in a half year, I will gladly take him back. Gladly take him back. But the thing is I don't think we would trade Reddick back to Philly because the Eagles have already shown
they don't want him.
That they don't want him either. And also Fangio's new in Philly, so he's actually never worked with. I don't believe he's ever worked with Hassan Reddick. So That's the thing, are you willing to give away a draft pick to go get Huff? That's a whole nother question.
Yep. Disaster.
Duncan, what's up, dude? Hope you're doing well, man. Huff is not an every down player at this point in his career. I think up to this point, yeah, I'd have to agree. Because he was a rotational pass rusher with the Jets.
Yeah, which is fine. Like, but that's what you paid him for. He's a specialist. You come in big spots, third down, fourth downs, fourth whatever, which is fine. Like I have no problem paying him $18 million. You just rush the quarterback. That's all your job is. We don't care. Just be good at it.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and that it also kind of blows my mind because if that's the number that Huff signed for, that's where I'm a little confused on why the Jets didn't want to bring him back, because it's not like Huff was asking for top 5 money, top 10 money. You know what I mean?
It's weird.
I mean, I guess from like a player to player standpoint, Reddick is better than Huff. And if you're under the mindset that Reddick is going to just play on this 1-year deal, then you are upgrading, albeit you're trading away like a solid draft pick to go get that upgrade. But I mean, it is what it is. And in the end, hopefully the Jets can generate some sort of pass rush. We'll see though how it plays out. Michael, dude, thank you so much, dude. Are you happy with how our wide receivers look? On paper, yeah. And I guess according to the Jets, right? Because Garrett's going to do his thing. He's the number 1 guy. Corley was like their number 1 receiver in the draft, according to or number 1 or number 2 receiver in the draft, from like the Jets side of it. So, there's that. I like Gibson. I like Mike Williams.
It's like
Lazard has had some nice. Go ahead.
No, it's like an incomplete grade. Like you can't really say how happy you are because we haven't seen anybody do anything. Mike Williams has 1 catch, huge catch last week. Gibson's been kind of, not really around. Corley's got 1 catch or 2. Like Lazard had the big game in San Francisco, but it was the kind of garbage times. It wasn't. You really haven't seen them flourish yet, have you? I think in name you think, and as fans we believe in them, but they have a lot to prove. It's just I don't know. I think you like them. Would you want more help? I mean, it remains to be seen. You got to see when they're in a shootout in a game, a highly contested game where it's 31-28 and they got to score points. How do these guys all produce? And that's where you kind of see, do you feel comfortable or not? And that's where it's kind of make or break for some of these guys.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. But I appreciate the super chat, Michael, man. You didn't have to do that. Thanks a ton. Priority number 1, we need a run stuffer. I agree. I think that's a bigger issue. Well, never. Let me take that back. I would say maybe for this game, it's a massive issue for run stuffer. But once we get Fotu back, Fotu should be back after the Bronco game, I think we'll get a boost in stuffing the run. But with pass rush, unless one of these young guys Watts looks great, or McKinley turns the corner and starts really producing, I just don't really see a positive uptick in production outside of McDonald really at any point.
Now, what's your evaluation of Kinlaw so far?
Yeah, Ryan, you took the words right out of my mouth, man. He's okay. I mean, if you're not rushing the passer and you're not stopping the run, and assuming we're looking at who we're playing, talented lines, you can't really say oh yeah, I'm loving what I'm seeing. You know what I mean?
I think the expectations are pretty high for him though. You were kind of thinking he put on the weight next to Quinnen Williams, getting a lot of opportunities. They're moving Quinnen around a lot, but I think I kind of expect a little bit more from him. Again, it's early. It's week 2. Maybe by week 5, week 6, this defense gets rolling and we're just laughing about all this. But you kind of assess okay, who left and who'd you replace him with and how are they doing? And the defense has been overall disappointment at this point, other than Will McDonald. So it's interesting to see how these guys develop. And dude, I have no problem with this. Everybody keeps saying it. How much can he possibly cost at this point? Nothing. Why not do it?
Definitely. Yeah, he's somebody who could just step in and play immediately.
100%.
Can't Leonard Taylor be a runs? He wasn't Miami.
Yep,
he wasn't Miami. He's a big dude,
and that's something that's and now that should be the next man up because they got to replace Jermaine Johnson with somebody. So somebody else is going to be active this week. So why not make it him?
Don, what's good, man? What's good? I thought Kinlaw graded out very well through 2 games. I mean, I don't know. It depends. I'm not a big PFF guy, so I'm not really I don't know. The eye test for me is the majority of the pie. In my kind of like how I watch and how I like decide or like grade players, the eye test is big for me.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure if that's like a PFF thing you're talking about. Um, but again, if we're virtually having zero pass rush outside of Will McDonald, which is coming on the outside, and we can't stop the run,
Yep.
and we have Quinn and Williams on the inside. How good is this defense really? You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially if Quinn Williams is getting double teamed, the Kinlaw's not doing anything. It's like it's not. He's getting more opportunities, not taking advantage of them. So I think he has to do. I wouldn't call him a bust yet, but I think he's got a lot to prove. And they're learning each other. But it's just they're going to face a tremendous amount of running on Thursday night. The Patriots are going to run the ball down their throats, and they have to stop it. If they don't stop it, they're going to be on the field for 6-minute drives, like they were the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, dude. Stevenson is really freaking good, man.
He is.
And the Pats' run blocking has been good,
Very
not
good.
their pass protection.
Yep.
Thoughts on the safety play so far? Not really. I mean, Tony Adams has made 2 nice plays
Yep.
through 2 games. Chuck, I mean, I think we could have used an upgrade there, but to me, like that isn't really like groundbreaking. Like I feel like the majority of Jets fans wanted an upgraded safety in the offseason.
Well, yeah, I think we thought that Chuck Clark could be kind of a hybrid guy too. He'd play go in the box, make some big plays, have some big hits, do that. He's had big hits for personal fouls and he's missing tackles, but I'm hoping that he's just going to develop into like just get into the flow of the defense and play better at a higher level once he gets acclimated. Maybe it's just working the rust off at this point.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I agree. It's tough. The thought of Justin Simmons being on the free agent market for that long, and it's just like,
I know.
oh, like we could have had him. Crazy. Duncan, dude, good question. Any concerns with Rodgers taking the play clock down to 2 to 3 seconds on seemingly every play, or is he just reading the defense or changing the play? I think it's a combination of a lot, right? You got the Hackett play call. He's probably in his mind determining if that's something that he wants to do. He's reading the defense. He's trying to find matchups, trying to look for the play clock, and he is still trying to knock off the rust. So I think it's really a combination of everything, in my opinion.
No, I think it's a combination of everything, but it is a little bit alarming because the other thing that happens, the defense can start timing it too, knowing they snap the ball at 1 second, and they can start jumping it, like kind of jumping the snap a little bit. And we talked about it earlier. When it gets to the point where you're getting delayed games and it's costing you penalty, costing you timeouts, it's unacceptable. So something has to change there. Where clean it up. They have to clean it up because, like you talked about earlier, like those the timeouts at the end could have came back and bit him in the ass. It really could have. Because the one thing was Salah almost called the timeout 1 minute into the second half. I was ready to punt my TV on the screen.
Yep.
Like 1 minute in the second half, you don't call a timeout. Take the 5-yard penalty. Who cares? But I was just like, what are we doing? It's like that game management stuff that kind of makes you nervous.
Yeah, clock management has always kind of been a question mark with this regime.
100%.
Like you never feel like it's dominated by what the Jets coaching staff brings to the table. I think we're in the middle of a slow start. The offense will be fine. Yeah, I agree. I think the offense week by week will look a little bit better and a little bit better.
I'm more concerned about the defense, to be honest with you. I have a level of confidence in the offense. I hate Hackett, but I have faith in Rodgers and the talent that they can persevere and do some really good things. The defense just concerns me right now because I just don't know where the answer is going to come from. I think just lacking talent on the defensive front.
Yeah. So, Haas, man, this is kind of what we were just talking about, like with the stupid penalties. Now week 1, I don't think we were penalized that much, but week 2,
brutal.
I mean, yeah, like we had to waste the 2 timeouts on delay, what would have been delay of games, and I think we were flagged 7 or 8 times for 70 yards.
And 6 from the first half, I think. It was like 6 for 65 in the first half. It was, and the thing was, the penalties were like, it was like a 15-yard play plus 15 more yards. It's like a 30-yard chunk play due to penalties. So you're changing the whole field position there, which is, it kills you. And we saw that last year too. And can I say this too? This is what, and this is a go off negative. I genuinely don't care. This is what pisses me off about Salah. He was so proud of himself during training camp that when somebody had a false start, they came out of practice, right? That was accountability in training camp. The minute the games start, the accountability goes out the window. You can have a penalty, nobody cares. Personal foul, stay in the game. Offside, stay in the game. That's what drives me crazy. Like there's no repercussions for dumb plays. Pisses me off.
There was one moment too. I think it was towards the end of the game where Gardner was all over, I believe it was Hopkins, like
Mhm.
completely like yanking his jersey, and he didn't even get a call. I was shocked that
The
he
end
was not
the
called for defensive holding.
Dude, the end of the game, the final drive, that final 2 plays, they were holding like crazy. I'm like, that's
Was it the last drive?
I think it was because the Titans were driving, and I'm like, it was in the end zone too. I'm like, oh my god,
Yeah.
the
Yep.
Jets finally got a call. I'm like, we never get these calls ever. I'm like, they finally got a break to get away with this game because it was just it was getting a little hairy down there.
Yeah, yeah. So Hopkins was also pushing sauce. So like that's just one of those things where just kind of naturally the NFL these days flag
100%.
home crowd Titans uh tie goes to the runner, that type of thing. Like offenses get the benefit of the doubt if they're both going back and forth.
100%.
Um, but dude, we covered a lot, man. Is there anything else that you wanted to
Well, give me your prediction
well,
here. We got Jets Patriots Thursday night home opener, AFC East rivalry game. Big. It's a must win for me. You can't lose that game. You can't for so many levels. Can you have like the mini buys? We have 10 days to be miserable and angry at each other and stuff. And you don't want to do that. So give me like,
hmm,
what's your level of confidence, man? Are you feeling like, all right, 6 point difference, or what do you think?
I'm thinking Jets win the game 27-20. Jets drive down the field. They punch it in with like a minute and a half left, and then the defense makes a stand on Brissett in like an obvious passing situation where they have to drive.
I'm in the same boat. I think like 23-17, but it's a game in the fourth quarter. We're not sitting there comfortable. We're a little bit on edge. Like, all right, don't blow this. No big mistakes. But I think they win, though. I think it's absolutely just, I can't wait for it. The crowd's going to be nuts. And it's just,
Yeah. Yep.
it's just got to be that night. Like, it's Patriots week, but we got to turn the page. Like, now we dominate them for a while. Like, let's get this over with.
Yeah, dude, 100%, man. So, yeah, I think that's going to do it for us. I appreciate everybody hanging out on a Tuesday. It means a lot. Thanks everybody chilling. And dude, the games in a day. These short weeks are crazy.
Crazy.
I mean, normally we have like a good like 4 days, 4 or 5 days or something before from stream to game. It's like literally 48 hours away. Like kickoff 48 hours away. So
It's
it's gonna be
insane.
nuts. But yeah, thanks so much everybody. And as always, go Jets.